Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Import Modify. Yes, I'm very happy on this episode because the time has finally come for me to start working on my E46 M3. Now, I bought this car about 6 to 7 months ago, and I had to get the Z31 turbo done in order for me to start working on this because I did not want to have a bunch of projects going on at once. And if you're here for the first time, check out my playlist because I have a lot of episodes, over 24 episodes of me building this car up to its current point. And it was very rough, very stock when I got it. Now she is a whole nother car, and I've been driving it around. I gotta tell you, I'm growing very fond of this car, but we got to get the engine taken out of this car because I have a good swap right here. We're gonna be putting that S54 into this car, combining the best parts that I have to get the best E46 M3 that I can have. And I can tell you there's a couple things I'm gonna be swapping because you can see how weathered this reservoir tank is for the coolant. That's because it's got the vented carbon fiber hood on it, and I do have nicer parts on this one. So I'll be combining the best parts into this car, and at the end of the project, I'm gonna have me a pretty sick E46 M3 to drive around. But the goal of this episode, I guess, is to get the engine out of the car. I'm starting late this weekend. Son was sick, had to go to the doctor, yada, yada, yada. Daddy responsibilities, and put me at a very late start. So that's the goal of this episode. We're gonna get the engine out and just go from there, guys. So this shouldn't take very long for me to finish this project. So enjoy the content while we have it. And if you're here for the first time, man, just check out my channel. I'm sure you'll like what I got. But after we're done with the E46 M3, we're gonna be moving on to the RB swapped 300ZX Z32. I have the Skyline engine that I redid and put together, and this engine's gonna go into the white Z32 back there. So after we're done with this project, well, rather this project, we'll be working on that project. And then after I'm done with that project, I have a S30 chassis 240Z back there that I need to finish off. And that was a mechanic's lien. And I'm gonna be getting that car transferred into my name because it's been about a damn year and that guy hadn't paid me, so I own it. Anyway, all right, we're gonna go ahead and start things off. I gotta move this car out the way, free up some space, and then we can start disassembling things in order to get this engine out. Well, guys, I had somebody stop by, and Camden, right? Camden.
Yeah.
Camden stopped by, and this used to be his car. This is the car I bought off of him. So what do you think about it now, buddy?
Dude, it's completely different. It looks so good. You did an amazing job. Man, it's perfect, honestly. It is.
And this car was pretty much stock, it was rough. He sold the car and bought it back from the guy, and the guy did a lot of shitty work to it.
Yeah, it was hacked up pretty good. He just cut a bunch of wiring out of it, and we did a bunch of weird stuff to it. I don't know.
But now she's pretty, huh?
Yeah, she's way different. It looks so good.
Cool. Glad you like it, man. All right, we're gonna go ahead and warm the car up, and I'll take them on a little rip. All right, you ready to feel it?
I'm ready, man. That feels so much harder. That really does, man.
It's only good at like 7 psi.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna turn it up to 11 here pretty soon.
Hell yeah. It feels good, man.
Let these guys go. It's always traffic, man. Like every time I try to do something around here, it's always traffic.
There's just people everywhere. It sucks.
All right, Camden. Hope you like donuts. Different car now.
Yes, this thing stays so planted. It feels so good.
So what do you think, buddy?
Man, it surprised me. It really did. I didn't expect it to run and ride like it does. I'm glad you did something with it, man. You did a really, really good job on it. I like it a lot. Yeah. Dude,
I got him.
I like it.
Yeah, man, I'm totally stoked. And those Power Tricks coilovers, they work really good, huh? You surprised how well they look?
They ride so well, man. I was impressed. I'm really impressed with them. I've never rode with the Power Tricks on before, and that's different. It feels really, really good with those on there.
Cool deal. Let's get back to the E46 M3. All right, guys, so I want to point out something to you real quick. This bumper bar right here is an aluminum one. This is not what comes on M3s. M3s have a Kevlar bumper bar, and I knew that ahead of time. So I went ahead and sourced out a Kevlar bumper bar. So whenever we put the engine in and everything, we'll bring this thing back up to M3 standards, and it's also going to give me a chance to go through everything like the wiring and stuff, because definitely some corners were cut from previous owners. So I'm going to be correcting things as I find, but for now, we need to drain fluids and get the front fascia off of the car. And after we get the front fascia, that will expose the engine and everything and allow for easy removal of things. So we're gonna go ahead and start there. So it's been a while since I've messed with an E46 that was completely all together in the front end. When I got this shell, there was a lot of pieces missing, so I'm trying to relearn things as I go. But I did not drain the coolant system yet. It'll be easier once I get a lot of the pieces off the front fascia removed to give me access to it, but it's relatively easy. There's a clip on it down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take away some parts in the front and take the headlights and just kind of peel this onion back a little bit. Then I'll drain that coolant, and then a lot of the pieces on this car, I mean, they're not even connected, man. I mean, this is just, you know, just hanging in there. There's no clips holding it down or nothing. So a lot of this stuff I'm gonna have to buy parts and, you know, do it right, put it all back together. But I'm gonna work on the front end of the car for now. Just peel this onion back, and then I'll drain the coolant and get to the point where I can get this front fascia off. So that's the game plan. That's what we'll do. All right, so there's a lot of ganky stuff going on in the front, and this car was obviously in a front end collision because this radiator support is from a regular 3 Series BMW, and this bumper shock basically is riveted onto the radiator support. So I'm gonna have to drill those out in order to fit the M3 bumper bar on, because this don't have the shocks. It just basically has a base plate, and this windshield wiper reservoir, it's all messed up. So I don't know if I'm gonna retain that and reuse that. I'm just gonna peel back the layers as I go. But the more that I dig in it, the more that I find that, you know, whoever put this on, you know, cut corners, obviously. Just need to take my time when I do this so I know how things go back together. And obviously I'm gonna have to fix some things in the process, so let's carry on with that. Alright guys, I had my ass handed to me on that one. It's been a while since I've taken the front end of an E46 off, and I was paying attention to how things were laid out and also observing things that were just done, you know, half-assed. So I know what I need to do in order to repair the car properly whenever the time comes to put everything back together. But the power steering coolant lines, they whooped my ass because they did not have these plastic inserts where you just push them in and pull the hoses off. I had to fight with that. I was able to get one off, and at that point I was just frustrated and decided I wasn't going to use the lines anyway. I just cut it. But I was looking at the frame rails here. It doesn't appear to have any damage at all, so that's a good thing. And I did find the hole in the block on that side, so this engine is definitely a parts engine now. But at least I was able to get a good amount done for the limited amount of time that I had. I definitely burned a lot of time fighting with things. The radiator hoses, they fought me a little bit too because the O-rings were seized up pretty good. I had to, you know, work them loose with some WD-40 and a little bit of effort, but we were able to get that done. So I'm at a good stopping point for tonight. I do have a limited amount of time tomorrow to come in and work on this, so hopefully we can get this engine out in the amount of time that I have. But if I don't, it's not a big deal. We'll just carry on wherever I leave off. So I'm gonna go home, recharge my batteries. See you guys tomorrow. All right guys, new day. So we're gonna go ahead and start things off with the underneath of the car. We need to get the exhaust out, get this heat shield out so that we can disconnect the drive line and the shift linkage and work our way back towards the front and start disconnecting power steering hose to the power steering pump and a couple other odds and ends so that we can free up everything on the bottom end. Then we'll move on to the top end. I'll try to get as much done as I can today. Hopefully we can get the engine out. If not, we'll just pick up where we left off. right, guys, we're making great progress. I got pretty much everything underneath the car done. I got the shifter disconnected from the transmission. I got the drive shaft out, the heat shield, the exhaust, and the fuel line, the vacuum line, the slave cylinder. I undid the steering shaft for clearance for this oil pan because this oil pan is very, very wide, and it's a little bit challenging getting it out of the engine bay because of that. So you definitely want to undo your steering shaft. Power steering, pressure lines disconnected, and of course this is where you have an engine ground. You want to make sure you disconnect that as well. So for the most part, I believe I'm good to go underneath. So now I need to work on the top of the engine, and then after that we'll get to pulling it. Alright guys, so I've been hammering away at this, getting everything prepped in order to pull this engine. So basically what I did was I undone the harness, and this side of the harness I completely unconnected from that compartment and laid it over right here. This side of the harness that feeds over to the valve cover right here, it feeds down underneath into that tray area, so it's a lot faster to just disconnect it from up here. I labeled everything just to make sure I know exactly where it goes back. When I put it back, I disconnected the starter, and the lift point I'm going to use is the factory lift, and I'm going to run a bolt through right there to the transmission where the starter was at, and I'm going to lift it up right there. And I do have the nuts off of the motor mounts, and I have the 2 bolts on loosely on the transmission cross member. So I need to get up underneath there once I get everything hooked up with the engine hoist, and we're ready to pull this thing out. So it's going to be a little bit of a trick because this oil pan, the way it's shaped, it's a little bit of a trick to get it maneuvered up over the cross member because I do have the headers on as well. But you just have to keep an eye out on everything and be careful when you pull it out. And if you want to see the hole in the block, there you go. Big old hole in that block. All right, so let's go ahead, hook up the engine hoist and everything, and then we're going to pull this bad boy. Alright guys, we got the engine out of the car, so the goal has been met on this episode, and I'm totally stoked. I gotta tell you, I had to soldier through it today because I've been having a headache, and I've been feeling kind of queasy. And my voice is kind of going a little bit, so hopefully I'm not getting really sick. So I'm gonna take me some medicine when I go home tonight, some Theraflu, and chill. But man, I'm stoked that I was able to get this out. And as I was working on it, you know, things started coming to light that I was starting to remember, like on the power steering rack. You know, you have to take those 2 nuts and bolts out and slide it forward, put it down out the way, because that gets in the way of the oil pan. And the oil pan, you know, it actually makes life hell whenever you're taking this engine out of this car. But you definitely have to do that if you're going to take the engine out. And it frees up space a lot. And the way I have the hoist connected to the engine, you know, the engine's weight is offset, so it's naturally going to tilt towards that side whenever you're lifting it up. And I was having a little bit of an issue with this bracket on the motor mount, getting it to get clearance enough to get the motor mount off. I ended up having to unbolt the motor mount from the bottom and then pull it out. And then once I was able to do that, that solved a lot of my issues, and I was able to pull it out relatively easy after that. But, you know, it is a little bit of a workout to get these S54s out of these chassis, even with the front end, the front fascia off. But, you know, I started remembering these things as I was, you know, moving along, and it better prepares me for when I got to take that one out of that car. So I'm definitely going to be taking this down to the car wash and just pressure washing and cleaning everything while I have everything out and giving it a good bath. So whenever I have that nice clean engine to go in that engine bay, the rest of the chassis will be good as well. And I also kind of need to make a list of things that I need, because there's a lot of mix match nuts and bolts. But luckily for me, I did keep a lot of E46 nuts and bolts whenever I disassembled the wrecked M3 where I got that engine from. I saved just about everything that's salvageable. So I'm gonna have to go through everything and see what pieces I have that need to be replaced on this, and then what I don't have, I need to gather up a list and order stuff. So, but man, I'm totally stoked I got it out, man. I'm gonna go ahead, go home, take me a bath, man, take some medication, and man, I hope I'm not getting sick, guys. But y'all know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share, and definitely see you guys on the next episode.